It is quite surprising that most of the greenhouse gas emissions affecting the climate is the result of agriculture and food production. As we're all trying to go green and do our best to prevent and curb climate change, the problem needs to be looked at. For this reason, new technologies have been developed to decarbonize these agricultural systems that connect producers and consumers. Watch the video to find out. First up, carbon farms and regenerative farming. Currently, many of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the production of our food are released during the plowing of soils. Undisturbed soils store carbon. Therefore, this is critical. So with a few relatively minor management changes, soils can once again serve as carbon sinks. Legumes and forage plants can help build soil organic matter and increase soil carbon absorption by planting them every few years instead of just growing commodities like wheat or corn, or sowing a canopy crop in the fall when fields would otherwise be bare. For example, this not only helps to slow down climate change, but also protects soil from erosion. It may not appear particularly sophisticated, but the idea that farmers may simply use additional crop varieties to increase yields is rather simple. And a new generation of good farming tools, which integrate farming tools that make use of massive data and artificial intelligence, will soon aid farmers in using these strategies that provide food and entice carbon. A bigger digital agricultural revolution, also known as precision farming, includes these useful farming tools, which can help farmers reduce their environmental impact and keep track of how much greenhouse gas their fields capture, resulting in a carbon ledger that documents their efforts. Although many people do not care to know how to help the climate, by clicking this video, I know that you want to do your best. Leave a comment about what you think of this farming method. Next, we have sensible fertilizers. Fertilizer production used to require a lot of fossil fuels, but this is no longer the case. As a result, it's difficult for farmers to apply the correct amount of fertilizer to their crops at the right time and place. It is not uncommon for fertilizers to be sprayed in excess and then not used by crops, resulting in pollution of the air and water in the form of greenhouse gases. New fertilizer technology, on the other hand, aims to correct these problems. Plants can benefit from biofertilizers that use microorganisms that have been bred or developed to live harmoniously with and extract nutrients from the environment. Learning about this new method of fertilizer application is a real game changer for the climate. While I'm not totally into farming, I cannot tell you the number of things that I might have applied too much fertilizer. If you've been doing the same, you can't blame yourself because who can tell how much the plants need? However, with this new method, you can get the right amount, perfect for plants and also for the climate. Although I know that many people would prefer to stick to the old ways. Nonetheless, if we are to retain a livable climate for years to come, we have to make an effort. Now, on to precision fermentation. History has seen people use microorganisms to transform sugar and starch into fermented products, like beer and bread, since the dawn of time. Precision fermentation, on the other hand, can be used to produce a staggering number of additional goods before too long. Using this knowledge, the world's insulin and the cheese-making enzyme rennet have been produced for many years. There is currently commercially available animal-free fermented dairy protein in the United States, which is created by introducing milk-producing genes into bacteria. Merchandise produced through precise fermentation will be common in supermarkets everywhere in no time. Farmers may be able to create environmentally friendly, high-value products out of waste products, such as spent grains from brewing or wasted starch from plant-based proteins, if fermentation microorganisms are fed with them. You would agree with me that the process of processing raw agricultural materials into finished products for consumers produces lots of waste products. Although this idea of fermenting farm waste is still purely experimental. Can you imagine the possibilities of precision fermentation? With the world focused on recycling and reusing stuff, this will certainly be a game changer for our lovely planet. But can this ever be a reality? I guess we'll let time do its thing. Fingers are crossed on this one. If you've been enjoying the video so far, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more content from this channel. Let's continue. So let's discuss vertical farming. When it comes to fresh fruits and vegetables, nothing beats the taste and freshness of those picked and eaten right away. Unfortunately, many of the fruits and vegetables consumed in Canada, the United States, and Northern Europe come from industrial farms in the Southwest or Southern Hemisphere. The carbon footprint of this long-distance cold chain is enormous, and the quality of the produce isn't always the best. New vertical farming technology aims to change this by using LED lights to grow year-round crops close to home. Small parcels of land can be used to grow large amounts of fresh vegetables and fruits with less water and labor than on a traditional farm. In addition, similar services are popping up throughout North America and Europe, but particularly in Singapore and Japan, where they're in high demand. Even though the current technology of vertical farms is still subject to some controversy over whether it's more power efficient, they are increasingly prepared to employ renewable electricity to ensure a year-round carbon-neutral supply of contemporary produce, even in Canada's north. When I came across the method of farming, I was intrigued. This farming technology makes it possible for places with very little sunlight to produce fresh crops without having to shop for products loaded with preservatives. However, as this method requires constant electricity, renewable sources must be employed. Another source of concern for me is whether the crops produced by this method pose any effect. If it is proven to be risk-free, then we have truly taken a huge step towards ending world hunger. Up next, biogas. Because of the potential for contamination of ground and surface water, air pollution, and greenhouse gas emissions, manure from livestock stalls is a problem. Anaerobic digesters can be used to capture methane from livestock waste and use it as an environmentally friendly alternative fuel, as long as they are built with the proper thought process in mind. Biogas biogas digesters have the potential to convert municipal solid waste into clean, renewable energy. The innovative technology or biogas digesters is already being used on farms in Ontario to increase farm profits and replace fossil fuels. The way people drive has evolved. When they're linked, these technologies become significantly more engrossing. The power needed to run fermentation facilities that make animal-free dairy products might be generated using biogas collectors connected to livestock farms. Similarly, if leguminous crops like peas are grown using regenerative agricultural practices and processed locally, the starches left over can be used for precise fermentation, although we don't know if this process is being implemented at a large scale. Its potential environmental benefit is enormous. The technologies needed to create a carbon-neutral year-round food economy are nearing maturity. In the next few years, all 5 of the above-mentioned technologies are likely to become commonplace. The world is currently confronted with one of the century's greatest challenges: how to feed the world's growing population in a nutritious manner, cope with local climate change, and never harm the ecosystem on which we all depend in perpetuity. However, we are on the verge of having the tools necessary to feed the future and protect the Earth. Now that we talked about farming methods that will help make the food system carbon neutral, let's talk about some ways you can reduce your carbon footprint. Now, for why single-use plastic should be avoided. Gone are the days when saving the environment meant reusing jam jars and recycling tin cans. It's past time for us all to start living plastic-free or adopting a zero-waste lifestyle to create genuine environmental change and lessen our carbon footprint. Every year, 300 million tons of plastic are produced around the world. Plastic emissions will absorb 17% of the world carbon budget by 2050 if nothing is done. Individuals can make a major dent in the figures by boycotting single-use plastic. Next, reduce and reconsider your transportation options. Transportation emits a staggering amount of CO2 into our environment, second only to the meat industry, 13% of all greenhouse gas emissions. Unfortunately, as much as we'd like it, completely abandoning transportation is not as simple as going vegetarian or reusing single-use plastic. For at least the next 5 to 10 years, many of us will be reliant on fossil-fueled transportation, resulting in unavoidable carbon emissions. In the meanwhile, the next step in lowering our carbon footprint is to reduce and rethink how we travel. And finally, make the switch to renewable energy. Renewable energy sources such as wind and solar power are the future of household energy. Regardless of climate change, fossil fuels such as oil, natural gas, and coal have limited availability. But green electricity is becoming more affordable and accessible. Most energy providers now offer green power prices, which promote renewable energy. However, we recommend finding one that guarantees 100% renewable electricity. A 100% green supply means that all of the electricity you buy is matched by renewable energy purchases, such as wind farms and hydroelectric power plants. Well guys, we have come to the end of this video. If you have any questions, leave us your thoughts in the comments section below, and we'll surely get back to you.